We hear about microcontrollers in cars that can react 1,000 times in a second to stop you from skidding. Can RenBed do that?
RenBed's got a clock which runs at 72 megahertz, or 72 million ticks a second. So effectively, it can respond to something 72 million times a second at its fastest. How fast are your reactions?
I don't know.
Maybe we can get RenBed to test them. To test your reaction times, we're going to use 4 elements of RenBed. We're going to use 7-segment display. We're going to use an LED. We're going to use a push button, and we're going to use a timer. To make this work, we set the timer to count every 100th of a second, and we do that with this function down here. We first of all tell RenBed to set the push button to pull-up mode, because we're going to attach it to 0 volts when you've pressed it. We're also going to initialize the display to be blank before it starts. Before we get going, we're going to make sure that you're not already pressing the button, and if it is unpressed, then it will wait 5 seconds, after which time it will light the LED up. It will say go on the display, and this line here will start the timer. This line here will check to see if the button's been pressed, and if not, it will keep looping back around unless 99/100th of a second have elapsed, and it will think that you're not playing. Once one of those conditions have been met, it will switch off the timer, and it will display your reaction time on the 7-segment display in 100ths of a second, and it will switch the LED off. The final line of code will just loop it around forever. As we discussed previously, main is the very first function which any C program will run. Here we have to define the button as being a pull-up. We switch the display off so it's blank. We make sure that you're not pressing the button. Then we wait for 5 seconds. After that time, we switch the LED on. We write go onto the display, and we start the timer. This line waits for you to press the button, or if more than 99/100ths of a second has gone by, then it will break out of that program. When that happens, we switch off the timer, and the final line, we display how many 100ths of a second it took you to press that, and we switch off the LED. We've written the code and we've downloaded it to RenBed, so let's test your reactions. There you go. Wow, that's pretty good.
So John, what's important to remember when we're writing code?
Compilers are very strict about punctuation, spelling, and sequence of commands. Punctuation and spellings, compilers will normally pick up, but the sequence of commands and the order which they're written in might get missed. And if this happens, then your program won't operate as you expect it to.